Exposed. 3 haunted true stories of cursed places that reveal sinister secrets of the unexplained. Sarah had always believed in fresh starts. A working mother in her late 30s, she thought moving her family to the picturesque suburb of Maplewood would be just what they needed. As she unpacked in their charming little house surrounded by sprawling apple orchards, she let optimism wash over her. How could this perfect facade hide any darkness? But just when Sarah thought they were safe, a chill swept through the air, heavy and strange, like a warning unspoken. Evenings transformed into a dance of shadows. The voices of her children, giggling in their rooms, felt just out of reach. Sometimes, they spoke of a friend only they could see. "Mommy, can we invite her to play?" they'd ask, their eyes shining with innocence. A feeling like ice water ran through her veins as she told them to focus on real friends. She dismissed their stories, attributing them to vivid imaginations. Every child has an invisible friend, right? But uncertainty gnawed at her, refusing to let go. Then the strange occurrences began. Pictures inexplicably plummeted from the walls, crashing to the floor, and at odd hours, the water heater would unleash freezing water when it should have been warm. Each night, a faint whisper beckoned her name like a breeze through an open window, freezing Sarah in place. Panic bubbled just below her calm facade, but she kept it together. Someone had to be strong for the kids. Deep breaths, regular routines. But the unease thickened, pulling taut like a string about to snap. Determined to dig deeper, Sarah befriended Margaret, a local historian whose fascination with Maplewood sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "Did you know your house sits over an old mental institution?" Margaret asked, her voice dripping with curiosity and dread. What unveiled from Margaret's lips felt like nightmares wrapped in history. Cruel experimentation on the residents was standard, the ghostly echoes of anguish still seemingly hovering within their now quiet neighborhood. Sarah felt the earth shift beneath her. The stories of chilling deaths and tormented souls. Were they truly buried? Fear turned her stomach as the whispers grew louder, demanding attention as if the spirits felt her probing curiosity. And just then, the unsettling gazes of their neighbor Rebecca pierced through her every thought. With a posture so unnervingly controlled, Rebecca exuded a false kindness that made Sarah's skin crawl. There was something underlying that veneer, something sinister creeping closer with every passing day. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, Sarah knew she was out of time. The influence of this imagined friend morphed her children into shadows of their former selves. Nightmares clouded their hearts and minds. As they whispered excitedly about fun games in the dark, a deep knot twisted in Sarah's gut. Danger loomed. Real danger. Her children, spirits yearning for comfort, flirted with something deadly, and the atmosphere crackled with their fears. And then, on a night swollen with shadows, the front door creaked open. A figure loomed in the doorway, a chilling shadow beckoning from the threshold. Panic seized Sarah as the air thickened, an impending dread coiling around her. She turned back to the home, the cursed secrets of Maplewood tight around her like a noose. Would she summon the bravery to face whatever horrors came next? The figure stood still, a shroud of darkness enveloping it like a cloak. Sarah's heart raced, pounding like a war drum in her chest. She took a step back, eyes wide, breath hitching in her throat. "Who are you?" she managed to whisper, the question slipping out barely above a breath. No reply came. The shadow loomed larger, its presence wrapping the doorway in an oppressive weight. Sarah felt the walls closing in on her, the air becoming stifling. Her thoughts raced. Was it the figment of her imagination, conjured by the stress, or was it a shadow of the torment that had festered in this cursed place? "Mama, it's okay," her son's voice called from the darkened hall, timid yet trusting. His innocence hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter. A fleeting moment of clarity pierced Sarah's fear. She couldn't let whatever lurked beyond that door reach her children. "Stay where you are," she shouted. The command felt heavy in her throat. It echoed down the hall, swallowed by the growing darkness. But instead of retreating, the shadow drifted closer, becoming tangible in the dim light of the porch. Sarah squinted, trying to make sense of the form, and as she did, the reality struck like ice water. It was a woman. The figure stepped into the faint glow, revealing a gaunt face composed of despair and malice. Hollow eyes fixated on Sarah, drawing in her breath as if feeding off her terror. "Let them play," the woman rasped, her voice a melodic whisper that sent shivers dancing up Sarah's spine. "The games have just begun." Panic surged. She had to act. In a surge of adrenaline, Sarah slammed the door shut, her mind racing. As she stumbled back, breaths laboring, the whispers began again, louder now. A cacophony of anguish and laughter spiraling around her. They tantalized her with tales of the institution, the unending sorrows of those locked away long ago. The vivid memories seemed to pulse through the walls, the despair leaking into her very spirit. A soft giggle pierced through the chaos, a sound belonging to her children now warped by something dark. "Can we play with her, Mommy?" they called, voices sweet yet eerie, mingling with the shadows draping the room. The room felt alive, breathing, pulsing with sinister energy. Desperation clawed at Sarah. "No, you can't." But the words fell into the black abyss of the house. Her children were not merely asking. They were enthralled by something deeper, something insidious wrapping around their little souls. An invisible line tethered them to the figure. She dashed down the hall, their rooms beckoning. She flung open the bedroom door, heart racing as she searched for them. The light flickered, revealing their forms sitting cross-legged on the floor, entranced, gazing at an empty corner of the room as if a gleeful spectacle was unfolding before their innocent eyes. "Get away from there," she yelled, lunging forward as the familiar voice twisted within her chest. An unseen force held her back, thick and heavy, as if she were wading through treacle. Her children turned, eyes wide but devoid of recognition. "Mommy, it's so much fun. She's not scary." The house trembled, a sinister echo of laughter throbbing through the floorboards and walls, and within that chaos, a chilling realization gripped her. The veil was thinning. She was losing them to this presence. "Stop!" she screamed into the darkness swirling around her. But the energy warped the room, blurring the boundaries between reality and nightmare. As she reached for them, the lights went out, plunging everything into darkness. The weight of the shadows pressed down on her. Sarah gasped, scrambling as fear clawed at her throat. Where were they? "Join us," the whisper cooed from the black. With her heart thundering, Sarah felt the pull of the darkness, slippery and terrifying. She had to break the grip before it swallowed her whole. But as she plunged deeper into nightmare, she realized the shadows weren't just a threat. They were hungry, and that hunger was aimed straight at her. What would Sarah uncover next, as the whispers of the past beckoned her to join a game far more sinister than she ever imagined? In the suffocating darkness, Sarah fought against the unseen force that felt like a vice around her. She could barely breathe, the oppressive air closing in tighter with each second. Desperation surged through her veins. She had to find her children. "Where are you?" she gasped, her voice trembling. The shadows shifted, whispering sweetly, taunting her. "Come play." They echoed, weaving through the air like smoke, a siren song beckoning her deeper into the nightmare. "Mommy!" a voice cried out, small and quaking. It was Ethan. "We're here!" Her heart twisted. "Stay where you are!" she shouted, but the words felt weak, swallowed by the hungry shadows. She could almost feel them curling around her ankles, pulling her down, urging her to surrender. Suddenly, the room flickered back to life. Harsh light revealed her children still on the floor, but now something was different. Their eyes gleamed unnaturally, pupils dilated, smiles stretched too wide. "Look, Mommy, we're playing a game," they chirped, voices merging sweetly but underlined with something darker. Sarah's chest tightened as her gaze darted around the room. The figure was back, standing there, watching. The gaunt face now looked twisted with glee, strands of hair drifting as if caught in an unseen breeze. "What game?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper, a knot of dread coiling tightly in her stomach. "Answer the questions." The woman's voice cut through the room, sharp as glass. "It's so much fun." The children didn't seem to notice their mother's distress. They were still, anchored to the floor, oblivious. A pulse of terror erupted within her. Their innocent faces were draining, painted over by the sinister aura of the figure. "I'll do anything. Just let them go." Panic surged, pushing Sarah to her feet, her body instinctively searching for a way out. But the shadows danced around her, each flicker of light returning to darkness more bold and confident than before. "Remember," the figure taunted, eyes glinting, "you have to play to win. Can you break the cycle?" The walls pulsed, drawing her attention. Old photographs, once framed and dusty, shifted into view. Each image flickered briefly, long-gone faces twisted in agony. Children playing in the confines of that haunted institution. A collective sense of dread clung to Sarah. Were these the spirits of those caught in the same web throwing an everlasting game? "Mommy!" The children chimed again. They were delighted, almost entranced. "Can we have the prize?" "What prize?" Sarah felt her voice crack, a chill gripping her spine as she watched their faces contort in glee, shadows wrapped around them like chains. Suddenly the light flickered violently, illuminating the faces of her children, and the woman standing nearby. A moment of clarity broke through. There, within the depths of despair, she saw it. Their faces weren't her children anymore. They were reflections, pale caricatures of her beloved ones, locked in a terrifying game, doomed to be pawns in a sinister plot. "No!" she cried, her voice rising above the laughter. "You have to stop! We're leaving!" But the shadows twisted, the air thickening with desperation. She lunged for her kids, but they flinched back, lost in a whirlwind of chaos. Their laughter melted into sobs, while the whispers rose to a crescendo. "Join us, or lose them forever." The room cracked like a scream, and the shadows loomed over her, hungry, insatiable. The gaunt figure moved closer, a grotesque smile plastered across its face, a predator anticipating the feast. Sarah stood frozen, her mind racing. This was a nightmare, but was it one she could wake from? With a final, desperate glance at her children, now mere shadows of their former selves, she made her choice. She would either end this game or become a part of it. As she took a step forward, the walls shuddered. Could she unravel the mystery before the shadows consumed everything? The house shook eerily, and beneath the chaos she could hear the whispers rising in a haunting chant. Was she too late to save her children, or would she find a way to turn the tide? The chilling hunger of the darkness beckoned. Would she dare to confront it? The air thickened, charged with tension. As Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself, the shadows rolled like storm clouds, dark tendrils reaching for her, their whispers growing louder. "Play with us," they seemed to chant, a dreadful melody echoing through the room. "Enough," she shouted, though her voice trembled, the conviction faltering under the weight of the shadows. The gaunt figure smirked, the energies around it pulsing with joy, relishing in her fear. "Do you think you can resist?" The figure sneered, its voice slithering into her mind. "You're already part of the game, dear Sarah." She could feel her heart mockingly outpacing her thoughts. With every passing moment, that shadowy grip tightened, swirling like smoke around her limbs. There was no escape, yet she couldn't let herself give up. The stakes were too high. "Ethan! Emma!" she cried out, desperately trying to anchor herself in the reality of their names. "You're stronger than this. Fight!" A flicker of recognition seeped through their dulled eyes. They swayed as if caught in a trance. For a fleeting second, she saw her children returning to her. But just as quickly, the figure waved a hand, and their expressions warped once more into that perverse glee. "Mommy, play!" they chirped, laughter spilling out like a cruel taunt carving deeper into her heart. Glancing desperately around the room, Her eyes fell upon the swirling, distorted images hung on the walls. She realized they weren't just remnants of the past. They were warnings. Each frame radiated a sinister energy, revealing fragments of former lives lost to this nefarious game. Break the cycle, the thought whispered in her mind, a flicker of hope amidst the terror. Sarah turned her attention back to the gaunt figure, its smile wide and mocking. "You want a game? Then let's play." The challenge blurted out, surprising even herself. The shadows paused as if perplexed. "Very well. What will be your first question?" The figure purred, amusement lacing its tone. Heart pounding, Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. "What do you want from me?" A ripple passed through the air, like a wave rolling over the ocean. The figure leaned in closer and she felt its breath, cold and rancid. "Your fear is the prize," it hissed. "And you, dearest, have so much to give." Determination bubbled up inside her. "Not if I can break the cycle," she shot back. And just like that, the world around her dimmed, shadows growing heavier. With her challenge thrown into the air, the darkness boiled with anticipation. "Then answer this." The woman shot back, her body moving as if it were confronting an unseen force. "What will you sacrifice?" Time stopped, the question echoing. Sarah felt the weight of her children's presence behind her. Could she trust them to hold on, to fight through this horror? The thought of losing them sent icy fingers curling around her heart. "I'll sacrifice myself if it means saving them," she screamed, the tears spilling over her cheeks. The shadows shuddered, and ethereal whispers ensued, swelling around her. "Can you bear that weight, dear Sarah? Would you truly endure the darkness for them?" Suddenly, the floor beneath her feet surged upward, her surroundings warping as chaos engulfed her. She could sense the walls closing in, threatening to swallow her whole, but a surge of warmth entered her core. "I will," she shouted. "I'd endure hell for them." The gaunt figure faltered, the confidence wavering in its cruel grin. But the moment didn't last. The shadows moved with urgency, laughing, swirling around Sarah, nearly blinding her. "Then let's see how real your sacrifice truly is." Time shifted, and a wild, sudden energy exploded through the room. Sarah felt herself breaking apart. Then she was somewhere else, standing before a mirror of swirling darkness. It was not just her own reflection she saw. There were others. Faces twisted in agony, trapped in their own versions of this nightmare. Desperate, she reached out to them. "Can you hear me?" she cried, but the figures barely responded. As shadows began to swirl and dance around her once more, she wondered, would she truly bear the weight of their darkness? Or would she become yet another victim in this tortured game? The figure reappeared at the periphery. "Time to decide, sweet Sarah, or face the inevitable." In an instant, the game was about to take a drastic turn, and she could feel the shadows gathering for another confrontation. Could she forge a new path among the lost souls, or would this mark the end of her fight? The darkness pulsed with an insatiable hunger, echoing Sarah's trepidation as she hovered before the mirror. The faces trapped within mirrored her despair, mouths opening in silent screams, gasping for release. She could see the pleading in their eyes. Maybe they too once thought they could escape this nightmare. "Is this what you want?" she shouted, her voice a desperate thread weaving through the void. "To see me drown in fear like them?" Each heartbeat resonated, a drum of terror pounding in her chest. She pressed her palms against the cool surface of the mirror. A jolt shot through her, images flashing, her children laughing under sunlight, the warmth of their hugs, their tiny hands clutching hers. She could almost taste that fleeting joy, but it was tainted by the chilling presence of the shadows. "Mommy, please." The faint echo of Emma's voice sliced through the thick air, a haunting whisper that sent shivers dancing down Sarah's spine. The taste of desperation hung in her throat, rough and raw. "Help us." The gaunt figure materialized beside the mirror, its face contorting into a grotesque semblance of ecstasy. "Look at them, Sarah," it cooed, its voice dripping with malice. "Their fate rests in your hands. Choose wisely." A sickening fear curled in her stomach. She couldn't let fear dictate her choices. I won't let you take them. I won't. Suddenly the mirror warped and rippled, like water disturbed by a stone. Shadows whispered and swirled around her, dark fingers brushing against her skin. She recoiled, feeling their icy touch prickle up her arms. Each stroke was a reminder of her vulnerability, a reminder that they were getting closer, trying to ensnare her whole. Make your sacrifice, dear one, or face the void. The figure hissed, grinning wider as if Sarah's spirit were an alluring snack to be devoured. What sacrifice? I already told you, she cried out. Take me instead. Just let them go. The shadows laughed, howling in delight. Their roars filled the chamber, echoing on endlessly, wrapping her in chains of panic. Ah, but you underestimate the essence of your sacrifice, the gaunt figure taunted, its eyes gleaming with a glint of twisted joy. What is it worth, dear Sarah, if your children are bound to the same fate? Would your love curse them too? Her mind raced, the weight of their darkness, the pain of falling into the clutches of despair. Could she truly save them while being shrouded in shadow herself? Enough, Sarah shouted, feeling the heat of anger spark inside her. You think I can't break this? I will find a way. As if sensing her resolve, the shadows pulsed like angry waves, thrumming with fury against her conviction. Suddenly, the mirror flickered, and another face emerged. A man, desperately reaching out, blurred by tears. Sarah, save us. Save me. Panic surged through her as she recognized him. Another lost soul in this cursed place. He was lingering between realms, a warning, or perhaps a lure. Who are you? She whispered, fear coiling in her veins. He opened his mouth, but the shadows tightened around him, swallowing his words into silence. She could feel the potency of his despair mixing with her own, thickening the air until she could hardly breathe. Mommy, help us! Ethan's voice broke through again, sharper now, filled with a pain that squeezed her heart. Do you see, Sarah? The figure sneered. Each choice branches into endless possibilities. What will it be? A sacrifice for their freedom, or a plunge into the abyss alongside them? Sarah's pulsating heart echoed in her ears, drowning out the laughter of shadows. Could she withstand their relentless grasp? The faces in the mirror blurred, merging into one, her children, their eyes wide with terror. Mommy, we need you. The gaunt figure leaned in, breath chilling her skin. Choose your destiny. The clock ticks, dear Sarah. Time stilled. The shadows shifted, forming twisted faces that grinned with anticipation. She felt their weight pressing upon her, suffocating her resolve. Would her fight finally shatter under this insurmountable darkness? As the whispering shadows closed in, Sarah's breath quickened. She had only moments to decide. What price would she pay for love, for survival? A flicker of lightning sparked in her mind. But would it be enough to break the cycle? The shadows writhed around her like hungry serpents, their whispers now a deafening roar in her ears. She could taste the fear, bitter and sharp. Time felt like it was slipping, a grain of sand through her fingers. The gaunt figure loomed closer, its shadow swallowing the light from her desperate heart. Make your decision, it hissed, the malice in its voice vibrating through her bones. Save yourself or save them. Choose. Sarah clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms, blood blooming like a dark flower. I won't let this happen, she shouted, her voice cracking. There has to be another way. The faces in the mirror twisted in agony, teeth bared, eyes wide with despair. Mommy! The sound of Ethan's plea shattered her resolve. She felt like she was a puppet, strings pulled tight, ready to snap. Help us, please! In a moment of clarity amidst chaos, she recalled the words of her grandmother, instilling courage in the face of darkness. The light within you can pierce the blackest night. But where was that light now? Despair was thick like fog, wrapping around her mind, suffocating hope. The shadowy figure laughed, a cruel symphony of echoes. Hope? It's a cruel joke, Sarah. You think they would survive the void? They will join you in the end. If you fail, it will only be a matter of time. Shut up! Discouragement clawed at her heart, but anger surged to meet it. I won't lose them. I will find a way out. The distorted figures vibrated, their screams intertwining. Her children, broken and gasping for air, clawing at the glass. The echo reverberated through Sarah, resonating in her bones and leaving her trembling. Just as despair gripped her once more, the man's face, a vision of pain and sorrow, suddenly sharpened. "Sarah, you must—" His words were cut short as another wave of shadow crashed over him. She realized then that he was connected to her, a bridge between worlds spiraling with unbearable agony. Will they become a part of this nightmare? Are they destined to join the damned? She cried, desperation climbing her throat. Everything comes at a cost, dear Sarah, and that price is their spirit. The grin of the gaunt figure widened, transforming into a grotesque mask of glee. And yours, imagine the power of your despair, a delightful feast to quench our hunger. The shimmering glass of the mirror caught her attention again, flickering images of moments shared with her children. Day trips to the park, bedtime stories wrapped in comfort, laughter that pushed back the dark. Each memory blazed in her mind. It was agonizing knowing their innocence was twisted in this world of shadows. Suddenly, a realization hit her like ice water. The sacrifice. What if it isn't mine? The dark laughter ceased. Momentarily, a vacuum of silence carved into the space. Sarah felt a rush of wild energy surge through her veins, an idea glowing like embers in the depths of despair. Maybe they don't have to be the price, she whispered, eyes narrowing. Such foolishness, the figure spat, shadows curling around its feet, trying to penetrate that flicker of hope. But the figure was wrong. Wasn't love meant to be a light? The gaunt figure shook with rage, shadows swirling hotter, more malicious, as if sensing her ultimate challenge. Sarah took a step back. If I can't save them, then I will bring the battle to you, she declared, letting the thought chain bind tighter around her. And if it fails, if you fail. The certainty in the figure's tone gripped her heart, chilling. Then I'll burn with them, she shot back. Determination coursed through her, sending shivers of violent thrill through her aching body. The shadows clawed, pulling at her, but now they were no longer just a weight on her soul. They were a threat on her resolve. This needed to end. No, I will sacrifice your darkness, she yelled, feeling the unleashed pulse of her courage surge forth. The gaunt figure's face twisted back to clarity, but confusion darted like a flickering shadow in its dark eyes. What do you think you can do? The mirror exploded outwards, shards of glass spiraling like silver stars, and as the shadows reached for her, hungry and eager, Sarah braced herself for the ultimate battle. She took a deep breath, her heart racing in tandem with the pounding chaos. Shards glinted in the dim light, reflecting her children's faces, vivid against the oppressive black, and she felt the warmth of their love engulf her like a shield. What's the cost of love? Sarah whispered, stepping forward. The figure loomed, doubt flickering behind its cruel confidence. As darkness and light clashed violently around her, Sarah took a deep breath. Would she transcend the despair or be consumed by it? The moment had arrived. Steeling herself, she thrust her arms forward, ready to face the shadows head-on. But the mirror exploded outward, and she realized her path was barely beginning. What awaited her on the other side? The world shifted as the glass shards scattered, each one catching the glint of the feeble light. The crushing darkness pressed in all around her, wreathing her in an unsettling embrace. Sarah braced herself, adrenaline pumping through her veins, as tendrils of shadow snaked towards her, eager to consume what little hope remained. Then the air morphed. A heavy curtain of silence descends, smothering the echoes of her children's pleas. Everything felt surreal, like she had crossed a threshold into an unseen realm. No longer just the confines of her home. This place twisted in design, a warped mimic of her reality. The shadows pulsed, a living entity breathing, tasting her fear. Sarah. A voice called, feathery and soft, floating through the air like a lost whisper. Was it Ethan? Or perhaps Lily? Heart-pounding, she spun around, searching, but the source remained elusive, hidden behind the shadows. Mother, it murmured again. This time, 1,000 voices layered in memory. Panic drawn tightly in her throat, she steadied herself. They were here. They were alive somewhere in the depths. She could feel it. "Show yourselves," she shouted, her voice cracking. And just like that, where the mirror shattered, the shadows retreated momentarily, swirling like a tornado around the shards, revealing a landscape of memories gone awry. Ethan's bedroom, once bright and filled with laughter, lay strewn with broken toys and dark stains seeping into the walls. Lily's nursery twisted into a prison of gnashing teeth and hollow eyes, the echoes of her giggles now replaced by an oppressive silence. A hollow laugh erupted from the abyss, cutting through her resolve. The gaunt figure re-emerged, stepping out from the folds of darkness, eyes glinting like coals in a dying fire. "Look closely, dear Sarah. This is the cost of defiance." It gestured, and the shadows darted playfully, morphing into haunting images that drifted before her eyes. Her failures, her moments of weakness, familiar faces slipping away from her grasp. "No, this isn't real," she yelled, clenching her fists tighter, grounding herself against the rising tide of memories. "Are you so certain?" The figure leaned closer, lips stretched into a sinister grin that left her teeth on edge. "What if this is your truth? A world where love becomes a snare?" Suddenly the images flickered. A glimmer of light glinted from one shard, illuminating Ethan's face, smiling, carefree. It filled Sarah with warmth, a desperate desire igniting in her chest. "I will not let you take my love," she roared, her voice rising above the malevolent whispers. The shadow laughed again, darker this time. "But I have already taken it. You think this spirit can fight against the very essence of despair?" She felt it, the heaviness bearing down on her heart, the truth lurking beneath her skin. Was it despair, or was it strength? The memories of laughter and joy washed over her, merging with thoughts of her children trapped in the depths of misery. "You are wrong. Love is stronger than your shadow." As the words left her, the ground trembled. The shards resonated, pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. It was as if the memories had taken on sentience, fighting back against the darkness, illuminating the oppressive space. "Do you hear that?" The laugh shifted to a snarl, shadows swirling chaotically. "What do you hope to achieve? They are my feast." "No, they are mine, and I will save them," Sarah screamed defiantly, reaching deep within herself. She no longer feared the shadows but welcomed them as part of her struggle. The shards shimmered brighter, a gathering of strength, the warmth of her love encircling her like a defensive barrier. With a sudden clarity, Sarah lunged toward the heart of shadows, determined to confront whatever was lurking within. The gaunt figure recoiled, but then surged, casting panic throughout the swirling mists. "You think you can challenge me? You belong to despair now." But as she pressed forward, the vision shifted once more. A doorway into another world flickered, beckoning her through a thin veil of shimmering light. It was a nexus, a path between despair and hope, where darkness fought its own battles. With one sweeping motion, Sarah plunged through the doorway, shadows clawing at her heels, desperate to pull her back. With every step, she felt her heartbeat echoing like a drum, the pulse of resolution driving her deeper into the unknown. What awaited her on the other side of that door? Would it be salvation or even darker demons? "Do you really think you can escape?" The shadow's voice called out, flickering in and out, layered with menace. But Sarah pressed on, heart pounding, ready to unravel the next mystery. Because in this moment, as light brushed against her skin, uncertainty was her only companion. The world spun as Sarah stumbled through the doorway, disoriented. The air was thick and sweet, rich with an overwhelming sensation that tinged her skin. She landed on a hard surface, cold, smooth tiles beneath her feet. Gasping, she scanned her surroundings. This realm felt like the meeting of two worlds. The light felt genuine, but something hidden lurked just below the surface. A lavish hall spread before her, adorned with golden trim and delicate chandeliers, dimmed by grime and shadows that clung to the corners. A faint chuckle echoed through the space, setting her nerves on edge. "Welcome, welcome." It was not the gaunt figure, but a new voice, smooth and dripping with malice like honey. From the depths of the shadows, a silhouette stepped forward. A tall man dressed in a torn tuxedo, his eyes glimmering with an unnatural sheen. "Do you seek hope?" he asked, the corners of his lips twisting upwards. Or perhaps a more profound truth. "Where are my children?" Sarah demanded, her voice trembling as certainty danced between fear and determination. Ah, children. Such innocent little creatures, hopelessly beautiful. He grinned wider, the gleam in his eyes sharpening. "They are close, my dear. But hope? It has its price." Behind him, walls of the hall pulsed as if breathing. A mirror glimmered, reflecting not just Sarah but her deepest sorrows. Ethan and Lily, trapped in a loop of despair, their voices ghostly murmurs, calling for her. "Stop it!" she shouted, shielding her eyes. But Sarah could feel their pain gnawing at her insides. It was like a branch breaking off a tree, a crack in her very being. "Do you think you can save them?" He laughed, a sound entwined with the sorrow around her. "Love as a currency is weak. There is only darkness here." With each word he spoke, shadows danced closer, whispering promises of surrender and fear. But in that moment, the warmth from her love ignited again, taking root in her chest. She clenched her fists, refusing to let doubt creep in. "Perhaps you're right," Sarah said, stepping forward. "But it's stronger than you think. I will not let despair take my children. They are my hope." The man's laughter fell dead, replaced with a sudden silence. The air turned electric, charged with fury. "Very well," he hissed, tension crackling like a storm. "Let's play a little game, then." Paintings above began to shift, shadows writhing in the frames as if something attempted to break free. Delicate figures twisted and contorted into monstrous shapes, paralyzing her with horror. One painting caught her eye, a chilling likeness of Ethan reaching out with a pleading gaze. "Choose wisely, Sarah." The man gestured grandly toward the encroaching darkness. "You can have one, the other." His grin widened, revealing jagged teeth. "You'll leave to rot." Her heart sank, the temptation of one child at the expense of the other. She felt it, the weight of that decision dragging her down. Was she prepared to bargain with the darkness? What would it cost her? "Think of the agony, the weight of guilt," he taunted, shadows swirling around like hungry beasts. "You will uncover a choice that will haunt you forever. Either take Ethan from his sister, or trust they are both a part of your love, however broken." The clock on the wall ticked louder, tightening the noose around her hope. This was real, the stakes were excruciatingly high. Time slipped away, and every second echoed with the voices of her children. In that moment, Sarah felt the world around her shift again. "No, I will not succumb to you," she shouted, defiance spilling from her lips. But with every moment that passed, shadows whispered sweet nothings of despair, tempting her to accept the lie. What would she do? What was she willing to sacrifice against the darkness that loomed over them? She took a deep breath, fighting against the grip of fear as she faced the looming threat before her. It was a battlefield now, a place of choices that would dictate their fate. But suddenly a loud crash erupted from behind her, sending shards flying. An unseen force ripped through the hall, and oh, how the shadows screamed. "Sarah!" a voice called, echoing through the chaos. "Get out! It's a trap!" Was it Ethan? Lily? The walls shuddered. What was this new chaos staggering towards her? As the darkness filled with screeches and shivers, clarity settled over her. The truth was rising to the surface, but at what cost? What awaited Sarah now, torn between the collapsing shadows and the urgency to save her children? Would she confront the darkness head-on, or allow the chase to drive her deeper into despair? Every second counted, and time slipped away. A tragic countdown to the choices she could make. Was her love powerful enough to keep them all safe? The danger loomed, and with thick dread breathing down her neck, she made her choice. But fate, oh fate, had its own plans. The darkness writhed like a living creature, engulfing her with icy tendrils. Sarah felt it wrap around her ankles, pulling her closer to the ground beneath the shattered chandelier. Her heart raced as the echoes of terror grew louder, drowning out her thoughts of Ethan and Lily. "Run!" the voice cried again, urgency laced within. It sent a bolt of clarity through her fog of despair. Sarah turned on her heel, glancing over her shoulder. The man in the tuxedo still loomed, his smile sharpening into something predatory. His eyes glinted with malice, reflecting her deepest fears. She darted towards the hallway where the sound had come from, adrenaline thrumming in her veins. Each step felt heavy as shadows clawed at her, desperate to pull her back. The opulence of the hall seemed like a cruel joke, twisting into grotesque forms that danced just at the edge of her vision. "Choose!" he shouted, laughter echoing off the walls like shattering glass. "Ethan or Lily, you'll always regret your decision." With trembling hands, Sarah pressed forward, every instinct screaming at her to escape. She saw flashes of memories in the flickering candlelight, their laughter, sweet bedtime stories, the way their eyes sparkled like the stars in the night sky. Could she bear to live knowing one of them might be lost forever? Suddenly the hall began to shift. The walls twisted, breathing, exhaling an unfathomable dread. Sarah could hear the whispers now, surrounding her like a swarm of angry insects. "Join us! Join us!" "Shut up!" she yelled, desperation creeping into her voice. "I will not let you control me." Her speed increased. She sprinted past the broken frames, feeling the air grow cooler as the darkness thinned. She had to find them, had to find a way to save them both, no matter the cost. But as she rounded a corner, she stumbled to a halt. Before her, the corridor stretched into endless dark, the light fading into suffocating blackness. She froze. Panic gripped her heart. "Where do I go?" "Sarah." That same voice, piercing and strong, reverberated through the void. "Follow my voice." Ethan, it had to be. The sound pulled her, the echoes illuminating shards of hope in her heart. She strained her ears against the howling darkness, stepping forward into the unknown. With every inch she took, the air buzzed with impending dread, demanding she turn back. "Sarah, ah!" It stretched around her, syrupy and thick like a nightmare threatening to swallow her whole. She could almost feel her children close. Was it a trick of the shadows, or was fate smiling favorably upon her? Gritting her teeth, she pressed on, pushing each doubt away. The voice pulsed, urging her on. She sprinted into the vast black time, slipping like grains of sand through her fingers. Crack! A heavy footfall shattered the silence behind her, and she whirled around. The man in the tuxedo stood at the other end of the corridor, his grin widening ominously as the shadows mingled with him, twisting his form into something more monstrous. "You can't escape, Sarah. The game has just begun." The sound of his laughter rattled her bones, and dread sank deeper, clutching at her throat like a vice. This was not just a game. This was an abyss filled with horrors, with madness just waiting to be unleashed. "Mom!" Another voice echoed from the depths. Lily's soft cry slipped through the darkness, a feathery whisper that pulled at Sarah's heart. "Lily!" she screamed, her voice tearing through the void. "Hold on, I'm coming!" The shadows suffocated her, but love, that fierce fire, ignited within. She would not yield. The weight of a mother's love against the oppressive darkness was a battle she was willing to fight. But as she lunged forward, the corridor shuddered beneath her feet and everything warped. The floor trembled, splitting before her. Desperate, Sarah leaped forward, fear driving her like a wild horse. Everything erupted into chaos. The walls peeled away, revealing an endless chasm filled with glimmering eyes, staring, waiting. Was this her fate? To be lost among the shadows? Or could love indeed conquer all? As the blackness closed in, blinding her vision, a single thought persisted. Hope is stronger than despair, but what would it demand of her now? What horrors awaited Sarah as she plunged deeper into the void? Would she emerge triumphant, or become another lost soul within the relentless darkness? The darkness engulfed Sarah, suffocating and heavy, but buoyed by an unwavering determination, she fought to the surface. A fierce resolve crystallized in her heart. She wouldn't let the shadows win. With every ounce of strength, she dove forward. The voices of her children pulsed through her, guiding her amidst the chaos. "Follow us!" they cried, their pleas intertwining with the swirling shadows. The uncertainty wrapped around her limbs like tight vines, but she wouldn't falter. "Hold on!" she shouted, her voice resonating with ferocity. Tears streamed down her face as she pushed against the overwhelming dread. "I'm coming!" And then, a burst of light flickered through the void. A crack appeared, glistening with a warmth that drove the shadows back just enough for her to glimpse through. Her heart surged with hope as she sprinted toward it, every step a battle against the voices lurking behind her, whispers of despair clawing at her resolve. In the moment of truth, she skidded to a halt. "Ethan, Lily, stay with me." The piercing cries of her children reverberated against the walls of darkness, and her heart thudded painfully as she saw vague shapes ahead, distorted but familiar. "Mommy." Their voices, so desperate yet hopeful, sparked an inner fire. The image of them brought clarity. It was the very essence of her love that would guide her through. She extended her arms, feeling as if the shadows threatened to pull her back into despair. With one mighty push, she leaped into the crack. Light exploded, engulfing her like the sun breaking through the night. Sarah felt warmth wash over her, a soft glow wrapping her in a cocoon of safety, pushing the shadows away. Everything blurred, her senses merged into one overwhelming pulse. "Mom!" They were there. She could feel them. And then, clarity. The three of them stood within a radiant alcove, the shadows evaporating into thin air. Surrounded by soft golden light, Sarah embraced her children, pulling them close, relief flooding her as their warmth seeped into her bones. "I was so afraid." Ethan's voice trembled as he clutched her. "We thought we lost you." Lily's little hands shook against her, and Sarah held them tighter, her heart racing not with fear but fierce love. "I would never let that happen. I promise, we're free now." The memories rushed back, their laughter, the playful afternoons, the warmth of their home. The room pulsed with light and joy, a sanctuary amidst the chaos. But even as they stood together, Sarah knew the shadows were not entirely vanquished. The gaunt figure and that sinister man remained in their minds, a reminder of the battles fought. But together, they were stronger than any darkness that dared to linger. "Let's go home," she declared, her voice steady, filled with an unwavering fire. Together. Hand in hand, they stepped back through the glimmering crack, the bonds of love illuminating their path. She could hear the whispers of the past fade away, dimming into distant echoes as they emerged into the sunlight, vibrant, warm, alive. Maplewood appeared lush and welcoming. The apple orchards stood in full bloom, their branches heavy with fruit. The house, while familiar, seemed untouched by those dark memories. There was nothing sinister in the calm, swaying branches, the gentle rustle of leaves. As they ventured closer, Sarah knew peace had returned. "Do you think it's finally over?" Ethan asked, glancing up at her, eyes bright with hope. "Not just yet," Sarah replied, squeezing both their hands. "But together we can face anything. We are a family. Love always wins." In that moment, the shadows that once clawed at their happiness became mere whispers in the wind. The memories of fear transformed into lessons learned, reminding Sarah of her strength and the resilience of their family bond. From the depths of their struggle, they found hope. She couldn't change the past, but she could embrace the future, the laughter, love, and warmth awaiting them as a family. And just like that, a new chapter began, one where shadows remained at bay, always a reminder, but never a prison. As the sun dipped low in Maplewood and painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Sarah took a deep breath, grateful and victorious. They had conquered darkness, and that knowledge lingered like a sweet melody humming in her chest. Let this be a reminder. Love is a fierce light in a dark world, always prevailing when barriers threaten to eclipse it. And as they stepped further into their new beginning, Sarah knew they would never be alone again. Now listen up. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Trust me, you won't want to regret it. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is everything. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this crazy ending. I want to hear what you all think. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, we create this amazing community, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.